On that note, I'm glad to be joining you here today for us to meet around this round table 2 years into my tenure and to listen to the tangible progress that we've made, mentioned by Matthew, Hafez, Jihad, Stefano, and others during this week who have walked this path with us. It is the most clear indicator of the hard work we've together put in the effect that this had. It has been a difficult but gratifying journey, one that I have reiterated our path to reform and nation building, not satisfying the benchmarks and the meeting deadlines of the IMF and World Bank. But I am also here to report that after 2 years on the job, my qualified observation has been that as difficult and painful the reforms have been, what has been the most difficult undertaking is to influence change despite an entrenched narrative. This reality has been hard for me to accept to begin with. Though we are working on extensive reforms, it is evident that one's history impacts its future. 2 years ago, my first discussion with both IMF and the World Bank were met with doubt, and rightly so. Since then, we've shown unparalleled commitment, opened our books and offices, and worked hand in hand with the IMF, World Bank, and involved donors against not just to meeting benchmarks and deadlines, but to work hard to achieve these targets. The collaboration and cooperation with the IMF, World Bank, and the rest of the donors for us has become a tool to reform our country's institutions. It is the strategic choice for Somalia rather than going the path of false hopes and shortcut choices that can have serious consequences for our nation in the future. Due to the working relationship we've had with each of you who are here, we've made tremendous progress. We can now report that our economy, though small, is growing. We have the lowest inflation rate in the neighboring countries, stronger purchasing power, thousands of businesses registered, only in Mogadishu since our president was elected. These are results of fiscal discipline and wide and radical reforms that we've undertaken. Our budget has increased and our budget process have become more transparent than ever. Our revenue collection has tripled. For the first quarter of this year alone, we have already surpassed the quantitative revenue floor target set by the IMF team, and collected taxes are now at highest record. I would particularly here like to commend our business community, who have developed a strong commitment to the reforms we are talking about. They have taken more risks and have paid the highest taxes since the collapse of our nation, because they understand working with international partners will open doors of opportunities. We must work together to create opportunities for our business community if we want our economy to grow. We want international investors to benefit as well from the immense opportunities that exist in Somalia and the potentiality of the future for the benefit and prosperity of the Somali people, the region, and the wider world. We have submitted to our parliament, in connection with the reforms, money bills, more than 30 approved by my cabinet. Those important include the establishment of an independent anti-corruption commission, the PFM strategy to increase accountability and transparency, a landmark telecommunication bill that no government has managed to pass and implement, has also been enacted into law, and we are working with that and generating revenue. A National Procurement Act has also been enacted into law, which will further enhance accountability and transparency in fighting corruption. The Water and Energy Bill and many other bills are also pending approval by the Parliament. Civil Services Reform legislation is also under works. Additionally, we have cancelled more than dozens of contracts for services that government used to do and were awarded in no transparent manner to private individuals and companies. We continue to look into all contracts that has been awarded. We are also working towards fiscal harmonization between the federal government and federal member states. In February this year, we signed a landmark fisheries revenue sharing agreement that allowed the Federal Ministry of Fisheries to issue fishing licenses for foreign fishing companies in order for us to increase our revenue. All these initiatives that government has undertaken since it came to office were critical in meeting the benchmarks requirements of the IMF in connection with the S&P. I would want to assure you today here, though we have done well, our commitment hasn't diminished. We've managed through this process to spark interest in the nation. The entire government and our population see this as a success story, as the first step to the new Somalia. During this visit, I have shared another personal insight with colleagues here, especially those from the World Bank and IMF. Reforming Somalia's economy is not enough if we do not at the same time reform the security sector and our political processes. But the discovery for us has been there is no single universally agreed roadmap and implementer for security sector reform, as there is for the economic reform. There is also no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow when it comes to security. Just demands and deadlines, sometimes conflicting. Additionally, no one looks at the fiscal discipline aspect of the security sector reform. To give you a brief snapshot, we spend 9 million a month on our security sector of our 13 million expenditure. This accounts yearly to $109 million, accounting for 57% of our internally generated revenue. My challenge to the with the World Bank and IMF is to look into the fiscal discipline looking at from the security perspective, and to look into a model that functions in connection with the reforms that we are taking. To all our other partners, we have challenged them also to work with us on replicating the S&P model and benchmarks and working with us to reform our security sector. We have made significant progress on the security sector reform. 2 years ago, it was unthinkable what we've achieved here. 3 months ago, no one believed we would achieve what we have achieved when it comes to the security sector reform. We began by ensuring all SNA and federal police soldiers are biometrically registered. We've put in place a very strict vetting process of the personnel registered. In addition, we've started to pay our soldiers directly into their bank accounts. In March 2019, nearly 17 soldiers have been paid directly into their bank accounts. In addition, the soldiers also receive their rations funds directly into their bank accounts. As a result, we've saved more than $2 million monthly. We've reformed the administration and the finance and personnel departments of the SNA and the police. We've developed new financial management procedures and guidelines tailored to the security agencies to increase transparency and accountability of the management of all security sector expenditures. We are in the process of re-tendering all security sector contracts to ensure that they go through an open and transparent procurement process. We also asked the Auditor General to conduct an external audit of our security forces, previously unheard of, and we will begin shortly to follow up on these audit's recommendations. We've also begun conducting operations, secure and hold operations by SNA for the first time. It wouldn't have been possible without the reforms. We are holding territory as a result of these reforms, and holding is linked to sustaining our forces. I believe the biggest obstacle on the security sector are now behind us. Then the third leg to reform is our political process. The vested interests in the economy and the security sector are also in this political sector. It is my belief that the best way to reform is to give political system that gives power back to the Somali people to make their choices on their governments themselves. In order for us to reform our policies, we've determined to start with completing our constitution. That includes clarity on revenue sharing, fiscal federalism, power sharing structures within the federal member states as defined in our constitution, and our future government structure. All these models have been developed, and we are working on bringing together all stakeholders in the Parliament, FMSs, and other members of our society to join hand in hand so that we can agree on the future of Somalia and how it should be organized. With the decision point and debt relief on the horizon and a promising security sector reform that is yielding progress, we are becoming more accountable. A comprehensive political reform is in the works. I believe Somalia is on the correct path to its recovery. I would like to request that you stand with the Somali people. Finally, your efforts can be recognized for yielding success story. I hope we can continue to work unabated on this issue and that we can speak to the truth of the challenges and opportunities before us. And the narrative can be changed to a new narrative using this success story of the partnership on reform with our national financial institutions. I thank the World Bank and the IMF for organizing this event and the close partnership. I also thank the donors who have stood by the Somali people for decades, and I hereby renew my full commitment to continue and see through these important reforms that will bring about peace and stability in Somalia. Thank you.